Hey everyone, welcome to On Tap. I'm Chris, your host, and today we are going to be talking about the most famous brewery to come from the Louisiana bayou, Abita. Let's get to the episode. The Abita Brewing Company was founded in 1986 by Jim Patton and Rush Cummings, which actually makes it one of the earlier American craft breweries to get started, with the industry leader Sam Adams only getting started a year prior. Now, the brewery gets its name from the town of Abita Springs, Louisiana, and this is a small town around 30 miles north of New Orleans on the other side of Lake Pontchartrain, which, if any of you are folk music aficionados, you might know from the aptly named song, The Lakes of Pontchartrain. And it's pronounced Abita, not Abita, which is a mistake that I definitely made until I was politely corrected by a New Orleans local when I visited the city in the spring of 2019. And actually, while I didn't get to make it out to the brewery, now that I'm doing this show, next time I'm down that way, I will definitely stop in. I might even have a pint. Actually, I will definitely have a pint. And a side note, my foodie friends and I, when we went to New Orleans, were really impressed by the cuisine of New Orleans. So, food tourists, if you're watching this video, it's definitely well worth a trip. And no, I am not being paid by the city of New Orleans to say this. Anyway, so let's get back to the beer. So the brewery really started out quite small, like most breweries do, producing only about 1,500 barrels every year. But those numbers continued growing through the 1990s and into the 2000s, and by 2011, Abita was producing more than 130,000 barrels of beer every year, along with 5,000 barrels of root beer. And the numbers have only continued to grow since then. Now, although the Abita Brewery, where it currently is based, is at a location slightly up the road from where it originally was, the brewery overall is still very much in the Abita Springs neighborhood, north of New Orleans, and produces around 175,000 barrels every year. That puts it definitely in the top 30 for American craft breweries, but not really quite in the top 20. Though I should say, Abita is truly an American craft brewery. It isn't owned by any larger international conglomerate. Abita beer is available in 46 out of the 50 states in the Union, and it doesn't really have much of an international footprint, though I understand you can find some Abita beer in Germany. German viewers, is this true? Can you find Abita beer in Deutschland? Let me know in the comments. Now, the thing about New Orleans, as some of you might know, is it's located in a very flat, swampy, kind of marshy area with a lot of brackish water, which is really not great if you're looking for good, clean, fresh water to make beer. So given the fact that there's a really lack of abundant wells, springs, freshwater sources, what have you, what is a brewery to do? The answer, artesian wells, which for those of you who don't know, which included myself until I researched this for the video, an artesian well is basically water that is trapped underground and on which is exerted a downward pressure. Basically, you've got the water which is kind of being trapped by a collection of rocks and clay, and the rocks and clay exert this downward pressure on the water, which creates a, you know what, just here's a diagram. One second. So here we can see the water. Here are the rocks trapping the water. We got the pressurized water. The well goes in here. The water comes out. The water's used for brewing beer. You get the idea. Earth science lesson over. Like a couple other of the breweries featured on this show, Abita is a company that has a very strong focus on clean, green, environmental policies. And they've donated a bunch of money to actually help preserve the New Orleans Gulf coastline, which is a very much needed project. I would even say, just from the research I did, that Abita is arguably one of the greenest breweries out there. They've got a solar array, they have a wastewater treatment plant that generates energy, and they have a brewing system that uses 70% less energy than your typical brewing setup, meaning that Abita has a very low carbon footprint. And here's the thing. Abita had a low carbon footprint and focused on energy efficient production before having a low carbon footprint was sort of the cool thing to do. And how far back are we talking? We're talking 2001, that they were already investing in energy efficient production. So I would say, well done Abita, good job, and keep up the good work. And also, very interestingly, Abita also produces over 13,500 barrels every year of specialty soda, mostly root beer, which I'm kind of curious about. And I was thinking, there was a part of my mind where I was thinking maybe I should try some soda in this episode, but then I decided, you know, soda, beer, kind of apples and oranges, not really a fair comparison. But if anyone really wants me to try some Abita soda, let me know in the comments and I could potentially make that happen. So what kind of beer does Abita make? Well, one unique aspect of the brewery, I would argue, at least compared to many American craft breweries, is the fact that Abita has quite a heavy focus on different types of lagers, and I do not have a problem with that. Their most popular beer, and bestseller by numbers, is the Amber Lager, and this was the first beer ever produced by the Abita Brewery. This beer is going to have a bit more sort of caramel maltiness compared to your garden variety lager, and it's been voted one of Louisiana's best beers. Up next is the Purple Haze, which any Jimi Hendrix fan can appreciate, or at least anyone who enjoys a touch of raspberry in their beer. That's right, this is a raspberry flavored lager, and the raspberries are added in during the filtration process. And so what this does is it gives the beer a little tiny tinge of purpleness as well as a little bit of haze, hence Purple Haze. Up next is the Strawberry Lager, and this is flavored, strangely enough, with strawberries. So these strawberries are grown and harvested in Louisiana and then added into the beer, which give the beer a little bit of sweetness. Wrought Iron IPA. This beer is named in honor of the wrought, or often cast iron ironworks found around the city of New Orleans, especially in the older part of the city, such as the French Quarter. These are the kind of buildings that look like this. You know, the sorts of things that we popularly associate with New Orleans and especially sort of tourists traveling around New Orleans. Turbo Dog Brown Ale. So this brown ale is brewed with a number of different malts, including pale, caramel, and chocolate. It's got some hops in it, but also quite a heavy body with some chocolate and sort of toffee flavors. And this was originally actually just a specialty beer, one that was brewed only part of the year, but eventually it became so popular, now it is brewed year-round. All right, let's get to the tasting. So first up, we have the classic Abita Amber Lager. As discussed, this is a lager that should have a slightly more kind of caramel malty-ness to it. A little bit of pour there. And yeah, has sort of a amber, definitely has an amber color. Not too much of a head. Yeah, I'm smelling a little bit of malt there, you know, and some caramel. Yeah, that's very nice. It's, I would say, more on the smooth caramel side than on sort of the crisp, clean, refreshing side. So very enjoyable, very nice balanced flavor, very easily drinkable. Smoothness and caramel is how I would define this. So next up we have the Purple Haze. Let's see what we got, and yes, look at that. Look at that. It's, so if I hold it up to the glass like this, I can just get the very, very faintest sense, almost like a grapefruit color. Ooh, yes, and it smells like raspberries. So take a taste here. Wow. Now, I don't think I've ever had raspberry flavored beer, but this is definitely raspberry flavored beer. And it's very bubbly too. And it almost has the feeling in my mouth of if I were drinking like a flavored seltzer. And I think for a beer, that's very interesting. It's a very kind of fun, poppy experience. Raspberry's not your thing. You're not gonna like this, but you know what? This is just, it's fun. It's fun. It's got a bunch of bubbles. It does taste kind of like raspberry. It's named after a Jimi Hendrix song. Yes, this is going above the Amber Lager, which is still an excellent beer. Next up, we have the Strawberry Lager. Give it a taste. Yep, smells like strawberries. All right, so that's still interesting. And this does taste like a strawberry beer. There is absolutely a strong strawberry flavor coming through. And it's very sweet. And like with the Purple Haze, it's got a very sort of carbonated feel to it. The only thing I would say though is that the raspberry in this, the strawberry in this is, it's a little much. It's a little sort of, I feel like this is just getting a little too close to me drinking sort of beer mixed with kind of a flavored strawberry seltzer. And it's hard for me to describe, but there's just a little bit, maybe too much sweetness. Let me take another, actually, I'm gonna take another, top that up, take another taste. Yeah, it's a little too sweet for my tastes. Still interesting. And if you've never had strawberry beer, I would definitely give it a try, but I could see this is not gonna be for everyone. It tastes like a strawberry that's been soaked in beer. It's not sort of beer that has this raspberry undertone to it. So with the Purple Haze, I think the fruits worked in a little bit better. So next up, we have the Wrought Iron IPA. Named in honor of the wrought and cast iron railings and balconies and all that cool stuff that you see on the front of New Orleans buildings, especially in the French Quarter. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this. Yep, okay, that smells, oh, probably a little bit more. It smells very hoppy. Ambery gold, dark gold. All right. Oh God, no. Nope. Oh geez. Oh God, that is, like when I have nightmares about IPAs, and this is again, me as someone who's not a huge fan of IPAs, and I have like nightmares of being at a bar and ordering an IPA and it's just gonna like turn my mouth into a desert. Yeah, that is this IPA. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want your IPA to just be a punch to the tongue, I guess, drink this. Wow, that is just, it's drying my mouth out more and more by the second. It's like you took some of that wrought iron balcony and you took the plants, like the big plants with the things hanging down, and you just kind of ground it all up and you shoved it in some water and you're like, here's a glass of beer. And I bet right now there's some of you out there who are just like diehard IPA fans. You just want to lean through the camera and just grab me by the shirt and just punch me in the face. And you know what? That's fine, because here's the thing about beer, right? It's what you like. And I really don't like this at all. Someone else might really enjoy this. If you really like hair on your chest IPAs, you could maybe go for this. I cannot at all. I'm gonna finish this. Hold on. Yeah, no. All right, so last but certainly not least, we have the Turbo Dog Brown Ale. Nice head on that. Yes, and it is quite dark. It's not completely opaque, but this isn't a stout or a porter, it's an ale, so there should be a little bit of light that comes through this. Yeah, I'm getting some sweet kind of caramel toffee sort of flavor. Oh, that is very nice. That's like this one, but it's even more just full-bodied and smooth and malty. I'm not really getting a sense of chocolate, but the toffee and the caramel, absolutely. And it's definitely, of these four beers, at least for the ones that I care to taste, this is definitely the heaviest of them. All right, so I've made my final decision on these beers. Well, it was difficult for some of these. Some of these it was not hard at all. So in last place, we've got the Wrought Iron IPA. If you want to get hair on your chest from drinking IPAs, this one is gonna do that. I can't at all. Next we have the Strawberry Lager. This, as I said, kind of interesting, I would say, if you just want a different experience, like different flavor of beer I've never tried before. This is kind of interesting. Wouldn't really have a lot of these. It's a little too sweet for me. And now we get into sort of what was for me very difficult. And I am going to make a very bold statement in saying that I think Purple Haze is my favorite. And I will explain to you why. and why I've ranked Turbo Dog and the Amber Lager very closely in sort of tied for second place. The Amber Lager, what I really like about it is, as I said, it's a lager, but it's very smooth, and there is some nice kind of malty caramelness to it. And done in a way and worked in a way that's very just calming. The Turbo Dog, I'm gonna put it as a tie, and I think that's because it's just, I feel like I'm always just kind of a little biased towards in favor of things like, like English brown ales. And this indeed, I would say, does have more noticeable flavors than the Amber Lager. The flavors here are a bit stronger. It's kind of like the Amber Lager if you just made it darker and you just made it a little bit stronger. You kicked up those kind of toffee and caramel flavors. The reason that I'm making this number one, and I realize this might be kind of controversial, is just, I think, purely from the craftsmanship of it. The fact that you have a beer that tastes like a lager, but it also kind of tastes like raspberries, and I quite enjoy raspberries. And it's very bubbly, and it's just fun. I think this beer really gets points for the fact that it tastes like nothing you've had before, and I mean that in a good way. And as I've said it before, and it's named after a Jimi Hendrix song, so you can't go wrong. Well, anyway, let me know what you think about my assessment. Do you agree with my assessment? Do you completely disagree with my assessment? I could see in this episode things could be all over the place. Some people could think this is amazing. Some people could think this is amazing. Some people could think this is amazing. Some people could think like something totally different. So I'm very curious to see kind of what you think, and obviously just be civil about it. Be polite, don't hurt people's feelings. And I'm curious to see what you think of my assessment, and I will see you in the next episode.